Hi guys. Okay, so these are 4 digital delays, and I played around with them for a couple of hours. And before we hear some samples, and I'll tell you my final verdict on these pedals, I'll give you my rundown first. Okay, so the first one is the Keeley Delay Workstation. I'll be completely honest, in my opinion, this thing is terrible. First, I was looking for a stereo delay, and they said this thing was stereo, but the only thing it does is give you the same signal on your left and right output. No ping pong, no parallel delay, no nothing. It even has a setting for dual delay, but even that sits perfectly in the middle. Then, you have a couple of patches of different sounds, but only on a couple of them you can use subdivisions, so that's a joke. Plus, this thing makes strange bleeping sounds when you change patches. Oh, and not even stereo inputs, just one mono. So all in all, not a great first impression. Okay, next up is the Source Audio Nemesis. This one is tricky. Basically, it does everything right. It has stereo ins and outs, you can control it with MIDI. It has 12 different sound engines in there. It has subdivisions on every patch. You can hook it up to your PC, Mac, iPhone or Android and use an editor to access more engines, really mess with the sounds, tweak everything to your liking, save patches or download patches by other users. The thing is, I don't know if I would really use an external editor that much. I guess it's cool that you have the option though. But what I'm really concerned about is the basic sound of the delay. No matter what delay engine you use, no matter if it's an analog or a digital engine, tape, helix or something completely else, this thing sounds dark. It reminds me very much of the T2 by TC Electronics, which is a very dark sounding reverb. Say what you will, effect pedals and especially reverb and delay have a basic sound to them. In the case of the T2, that's the exact reason I kept it, because it has this dark, washed out character. But I simply don't know if I could use a delay that has that sound to it. I have the feeling the designers of this pedal put a little bit of washed out reverb on the decays to make the sound bigger. And the sound is big, but also very dark. Or maybe you can call it warm. Because even in the digital setting, it never reaches the clarity of the Boss or the Strymon. So that is definitely something to consider. Okay, next up is the Boss DD500. This thing I was so curious about, and I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed. In my opinion, for everything Boss did right with this pedal, they did something wrong. Now, let's start with the upsides. It has stereo ins and outs, it has buffered or true bypass, it has a display and deep editing possibilities on the pedal itself, even without an external editor. It has multiple different sound engines, a tone control for your delay sound, and an analog drive-through. As does the Strymon, by the way. The Nemesis converts your signal to digital. The Keeley couldn't find that info. But the DD500 has no switch or knob for subdivisions. You have to enter the menu for that. If you choose a dual delay, it doesn't show you the note value of the second delay, but a percent value of the first delay. So have fun taking your calculator out. Not all of the sounds are stereo. You have to choose a dual setting if you want them to be true stereo. Then I noticed the volume drop on my clean signal when this thing is engaged. I checked the menu and the dry signal is on 100%, but there is still a volume drop. I will show you what these pedals do to your dry signal in one of the first samples. But coming back to the Boss, my main criticism with this thing is the quality of its sound. I had a Boss DD7 years ago, and while it was a great workhorse, it always sounded a little bit flat. And it seems the Boss DD500 didn't really evolve in that regard, especially compared with the Strymon and even the Nemesis, which is dark but has character. The Boss sounds a little bit flat, and dare I say it, boring. Sure, it has EQs which you can mess around and tweak the sound with, but it seems to me this thing is a little bit of jack of all trades, master of none. Maybe later in the samples you will hear what I mean. The DD500 has 1,000 options and 1,000 sounds, but they all sound kind of the same. Okay, let's talk about the last pedal, the Strymon Dig. The Dig is a one-trick pony, that's for sure. It gives you rhythmic, 80s inspired dual delay with 3 different flavors. a clean version, a not so clean version, and a mildly distorted one. But man, at least what it does perfectly. It has no editor, no way of upgrading its firmware, no MIDI, but at least it sounds just beautiful. Its basic tone, I would say, is bright and friendly, and with the two modulation settings, you can bring a lot of depth to your sound. The modulation on this thing is far superior to that of the Boss or the Nemesis, even if you have no way of tweaking it. In the case that you find the repeats too dark or too bright, you have a secondary function that allows you to shape them a little bit, a tone control if you will. Also, as far as I can tell, the DIC leaves your dry tone untouched and has no volume drop or boost when engaged. But, as nothing in life, it's not perfect. First, it seems overpriced for what it does. I mean, the Boss and the Nemesis cost the same as the Strymon, but are capable of doing so much more. Secondly, I hate that you have to open the pedal and change the jumper when you want to operate the DIC with stereo ins. Then, it has only one input jack, so you need one of those TRS splitting cables. And last but not least, especially when you don't play live, but mainly use your delay for recording, I'm not so sure if the DIC is really worth it. I have a lot of plugins by Waves and Native Instruments, and some of them are digital delays that can literally do what the DIC does. Maybe not in high fidelity as the DIC, but is that really worth all that money? So there you have it, that was my rundown. I will let you know my decision which pedal I will keep at the end of this video, but now let's hear some music. First, I will use a looper to play back one chord in a loop. It doesn't sound nice, but it will bring the point across and show you what these pedals do to your dry sound. All pedals are in true bypass mode. The dry level on the Boss is on 100%. The effect levels are on 0. Please listen with good headphones if you want to hear the details. Enjoy. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the shootout. Okay, here's my opinion. So, the Keeley Delay Workstation is not a contender for me. I'm sure Robert Keeley makes great pedals, but this is not one of them. Let's just leave it at that. The Boss DD500 could be a cool delay pedal for you if you want a lot of different options in one box, if you like to tweak your sounds and save your own patches, if you play a lot of live shows and want a sturdy box with easy accessible patches, and if you can live with the knowledge that there are tonally better delays out there. As I said, I like the basic idea of this pedal, plus it seems robust and sturdy, but without tweaking it sounds a little bit dull. It might be the perfect pedal for you though, if you want to put in the time and effort to work on your sounds. Okay, the Nemesis. The Nemesis is the perfect delay pedal for you if you don't mind using a smartphone or your PC for tweaking. But first and foremost, it's the perfect delay pedal for you if you make dark music. Simple as that. This is the sound of, for example, the XX, Interpol, the White Lies, and so on and so on. Dark indie, dark ambient, call it what you will, but everything dark, this pedal shines. I reckon it would even fit metal, grunge, or dark electronic music. Ironically, I find that pedal to be more 80s in that regard than the Strymon Dig. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Dig. As I said, one trick pony, gorgeous sound, easy to set up and use. If you want a digital dual delay to have fun with, a pedal that does one thing, but that one thing perfectly, then this is for you. This is easily the cleanest, friendliest sounding delay pedal in the shootout. The pedal with the most sophisticated rhythmic delay settings. And the one pedal that doesn't really need an editor, but has all its controls right there on the box. For me, however, it's a little bit too expensive for what it does. I love the sound and I love the look of it, but I will be using the delay mainly for recording. And I simply have some plugins already that do this kind of rhythmic delay thing pretty good. The more I played with the Nemesis, however, the more I fell in love with it. I especially like the sound of some of the more obscure engines, and I like the fact that I can access even more engines with the editor. Having said that, I will still keep my eyes open for a Dig. Maybe I will find one used for a good price. Especially when just messing and playing around, I think it can't be beaten. Okay, so that was my review/shootout. I hope you enjoyed it. When you agree or disagree, leave a comment in the comment section. And please subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.